Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Affordable Housing Advisory Board on Monday, October 7th at 2:19. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we do have a flag, so I'd like everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Welcome, everyone. I love seeing a full house. It always makes it fun. I'd like for everyone to go around and introduce themselves, please, starting with David.
I'm Dave Snyder. I'm with Florida Home Partnership, and I represent the nonprofit developer. But I understand my term is currently expired, so I'm presently serving as a non-voting member.
Well, you're not done yet.
Not yet.
I'm Nancy Takamori with the County Attorney's Office.
Cheryl Howell, Affordable Housing Director.
Kimberly Overman, County Commissioner and Chair.
Mark Rosenwasser, Meadowwood Property Company CEO and Vice Chair.
Orlando Hughes, Tampa City Council.
Sherry Donahue, Temple Terrace City Council.
Connie Burton, community activist.
Marianne Abrahamson, Planning Commission.
And Pedro Parr, Planning Commission.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We have a few minutes set aside for public comments, and apparently we have 3 or 4 people that have signed up. Is there a Drayton here? Drayton, please come forward. And you have 3 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've met some faces here on the committee, city and county.
Can we get, I'm sorry. Can I get your full name, please?
Yes, my name is Verlene Drayton.
Thank you.
And I am a resident here in Hillsborough County. Also, I am a former military spouse. I also slept on the streets in Hillsborough County for 4.5 years before receiving a residence with a nonprofit organization, Volunteers of America. I don't have any good news today. I had to call the sheriff department at the residence where I live at. There is some type of chemical being smoked inside the complex that affects my health. Itching, sneezing, coughing, shortness of breath, respiratory. My health care is not good. The system is not good for me right now. I reach out to Volunteers of America, which is a nonprofit organization who resides over this residence. I'm not clear about what to do about this matter. I don't have the extra monies to relocate myself. I am on a fixed income, less than $25 a month. They have us come to these required meetings every month. I don't see anything great about going to these meetings. I prefer to go to my food bank where I need to be at. These meetings consist of talking about what the individual does in the apartment. That's not a concern to me. To others, it should not be either. The living conditions. They say they have bad pipes. Someone say they receive grant monies for this Arbor Apartments place. I want to see accountability, transparency. I want to know where is all of this grant money is going to go for this particular building. I have to be out of there March 2020. I'm in anxiety over figuring out where will I go with my fixed income and what kind of health that I will leave after living in that apartment, smelling these chemicals. It's not cigarettes. We're not going to play games here. It's not cigarettes. It's not marijuana. It's something that cannot be consumed inside of a building, federal-owned HUD housing. I agree with them having non-smoking inside of HUD housing. I have nothing against it, because you should have a choice of fresh air. My fight is I want fresh air.
Excellent.
I thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your day, please.
Ms. Drayton, Ms.
Yes.
Drayton. Can you give me an address of the complex, please?
The address is 1915 East 131st Avenue. It is Arbor Place Apartments. It says it's for veterans. They have a mixed community there. My mailbox was broken in last week. We have 32 units. I was the only mailbox broke into. So if I'm finna be a high risk there, I have to be protected myself, and I'm asking the Volunteers of America for security cameras on the property. There is no security cameras there. Maybe we could have saw the person who was into the mailbox. So far, they haven't taken anything. I've put in the work order.
Great, we'll follow up with you after the meeting.
I thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Drayton. Ms. Rucker will speak to you after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ernest Johnson.
Good morning.
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 My name is Ernest Johnson. I live at 2119 East Nedrow Road. I'm a returning citizen, almost 20 years out, but I'm a homeowner, business owner and stuff like that, but that doesn't concern me. I'm concerned about the returning citizens in Hillsborough County, since the Florida Department of Law Enforcement just released a statement that Hillsborough County sent more people to prison in the last 48 months than all the other counties. And I want to know, what can you do for those returning citizens in terms of housing or job placement, workforce, anything that can help them stop the slide and the fall when they return from prison, because there's nothing for them. That's why most of these guys go back to the street to commit crimes, because they have nowhere to live. They have nowhere to go. All the jobs tell them you're an ex-felon. And I understand the whole ex-felon thing is a stigma that is based on discriminatory practices. We're returning citizens because we accepted the arrest voluntarily. We went to trial and accepted the trial and conviction voluntarily. We went to prison voluntarily. We didn't try to escape or murder no one. We did that sentence. And now we're returning, still part of that same legal process. We being returned to society, and we want to participate as citizens, not ex-felons, because we are not ex-felons. And I understand everybody don't get out of prison and do as well as me, so I'm concerned about those that don't do as well as me. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Johnson, just a second, please.
October 24th, that will be a Thursday at City Council. I asked months ago in reference to a workshop. I think you came to council before, so I want to let you know again, October 24th, around about 9:30, 10 o'clock, we will be having a reentry workshop. I've asked legal staff in the city to bring me information in regards to how we can deal with reentry. So if you be so kind and show up to that meeting with your concerns, be glad to hear them. Yes, sir, I'll be there. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being here today. Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Marianne Abrahamson. Marianne?
Oh, sorry, that was.
Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Marianne? Oh, okay, you guys are going to do, okay, great.
Pedro Parr with the Planning Commission. At the last meeting, we were asked to provide an update of where we are in terms of the housing element with the county's housing element update. So that's what I want to do today. I just want to let you know that we do have a schedule for updating.
Could you introduce yourself, sir?
Pedro Parr with the Planning Commission. We have begun looking at an update to the housing element along with other elements in the comprehensive plan. We are in the formative stages, the initial stages of doing so. We began in January as a staff to look at the composition of the comprehensive plan, and then in about July, we began earnestly looking at the different elements. So Marianne Abrahamson is going to be that staff person who will be the manager for the housing element with the Planning Commission. What we have done so far, this is our third try at updating the 1998 adopted comprehensive plan for Hillsborough County. We have sat with staff over the last 3 years, and we have looked at which parts of the comprehensive plan are still required under 163. In 2011, there was a change to 163, and it was modified and cut back in terms of the requirements. So we wanted to make sure that the new update will reflect the requirements under 163, and some of the changes that have occurred, there were many identification of other agencies, both federal and state and local, that have their own regulatory process, that we mirrored their regulations in the housing element. So we have taken those out. If they occur in somebody else's regulatory language, whether it's HUD or other agencies, then we have removed them from the housing element. We have also then looked at those data that was required under former 163 and what's required today, and we've identified those pieces that will go away. And we've also looked at reframing the composition of the policies so that the policies aren't regulatory. Instead, they are illustrative and visionary. That's where we're at today. We have had one conversation with the Affordable Housing Services Office, at which time we were directed to not just include the affordable housing, but for those agencies in the county that represent housing, that we talk to planning and growth management, that we enroll them in the conversation of any changes that are proposed. We'd also like to make sure that the Affordable Housing Advisory Board is included in that. So when we get to that form where we have got an outline that we would like to present and review, we would ask that there possibly a committee appointed to look at that document. Again, we're if we look at it at a three-stage process, we are in the initial stage. Our next stage will be to actually take some of the recommendations that have come from this board, which include tying the housing policies that exist in the housing element to other policies that talk about where development is occurring. For example, the intersections where higher intensity is being promoted in terms of, for example, the TOD or the high emphasis corridors in the long range transportation plan. But we've also been asked to and tasked with looking at how the densities are provided as incentives in the comp plan. What we found in looking at that in this initial stage is that there are many policies that exist in other elements of the plan that do reflect some of these things, but we've not tied them together in ways that it can be user-friendly. So the update to the plan is looking at how to make sure that we tie those policies that exist in the future land use, in transportation, in facilities, are also easily identified when somebody's coming in to look at housing issues. We hope to finish the initial stage by November of this year. And so at that stage, then we'll be requesting conversations with the other agencies to walk through and to get any further suggestions that might come from them.
Excellent. I'm really glad to hear that process is in the works. This committee, or this board actually, is going to be addressing those specific issues moving forward, as we have made a commitment for resources for affordable housing, and we see possibly the needle moving on the transit. So making those, that land code or land use changes as it pertains to our comprehensive plan is going to be critical to the success of our efforts in affordable housing. Look forward to that presentation. We'll get you on the agenda as soon as possible. And sorry we didn't get you on there today, but I appreciate your presentation. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Oh, and
Madam Chair.
by the way, I still won't accept your retirement resignation. I keep trying to keep you from leaving, but I appreciate that all the service that you provided us over the years. For those of you that don't know, Pedro's been the rock for our planning commission and bringing our insight to how affordable housing fits in that picture and those goals. And I just want to thank you for your service, gentlemen.
Thank you. The opportunity was something I appreciated doing, and housing is, again, one of my passions. Equity and housing. It's kept me with the Planning Commission, and I hope to continue working in that area.
Great, thank you. Next we have
Nee? Is that Nee?
Nee or Ali or Nee. I just have three. It would be really helpful if I had whole names here. N.I., I believe is what I see. Okay, if I didn't call you after the next person, it was you. Sally Lee?
Yes, good morning. Greetings to all. I'm Sally S.C. Lee with the Volunteer Missionary Society Penny Fund Poverty Program Initiative has provided homeless services referral and resources for 1 year, 9 months at the Robert Sanders Library. We wish to expand to a facility. We would be we will be seeking funding and will want to cooperate and join with other agencies that are doing housing program as an initiative. And we will also be applying for funding, and we wish to become an affordable housing initiative. And we have a plan moving forward, and we wish that you all would consider working with us, and we're free and open to the public to working with whoever is doing housing so we can do it better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, all hands on deck, okay? All hands on deck. Okay, any other public comment? Okay. Did you want to come up? Come on up. And please introduce yourself.
My name is Alice Moore. I'm retiree from the Department of Labor, and I'm speaking for the seniors, single, family, and multifamilies. I'm speaking in reference to rent control for middle class, people of 30,000 and up. We tend to be forgotten. Of course, I would like to have the low income rent for everyone else, but for seniors, the rent control would be much better. I should not have to be spending most of my retirement on rent, and it would be much better to bring this to Florida to help. There are a lot of seniors that's going to be treated just like, just like the people in the trailer park that you just saw. A last minute and they'll have to move. And there's no recourse for seniors. In fact, Florida has no recourse for tenant. We are one of the states that have the weakest voice for tenants. And this is why you see the people in the trailer park being moved. And this is what's eventually going to happen to the middle class of Florida. So I'm trying to make sure and make it known that you start looking for the middle class. These retirees should not have to work. The seniors you see working, that's not because they're bored, it's because they have to. Especially when the children come back home, the grandchildren they have to take care of. And that money is not in. Rent is going up very high. Right across the hall, the lady is going to have to move because she can't afford the rent. She had her car towed and food. So the middle class is suffering. Low income is great, but the other people who have worked and really doing and trying to make it a lot of people don't even have car insurance because they can't keep up with rent. $1,400, $1,500, $2,000, that's a lot. And we're only making $8.50 an hour, not even $15. So it's like a spilling wage up. So that's my part, helping the middle class that everybody forget. There'll be a lot of vacant apartments after a while, and people will be living on the street or in their cars if they're not already. So that's my part of doing. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, ma'am, I saw you at a town hall meeting a couple months ago, and I told you in reference to my office is looking about rent control. We're just about done with that study. New York really kind of got the ball rolling in regard to rent control, but throughout the years, some other places have kind of stopped it, and they're looking at rent sustainability. And so that's what my office is really getting into, sustainability, because you're absolutely right. If you, because I have to help my mother out. So if you're right here with a Social Security check and rent is to continue and going up each and every year, you're priced out. So where do you stay? So I agree with you on that, Mark. My office is just about done with that study, and I'll introduce it to our council and hopefully introduce it to the county as well, because I think it's got to be a total partnership when doing that. Everyone will need to be on board to do that, but I believe it's something that's going to have to happen. Each year rent is going up extremely, extremely high just because, and I think you got to have a cap or kind of stage it a little bit, not to put a burden and say you can't rent your apartment at this rate, but look at how the average income is going each year, and maybe look at 2 to 3 years down the road, then talking about an increase versus every year increasing that rent, and then you're pricing everyone out. So my office is looking into that, and hopefully we'll be rolling something out before the first of the year.
Okay, let me add something to what you're saying. I understand rent stability, and of course, your income should be at least 30%. At least 25 to 30% of your income goes to rent. Texas just recently got rent control. Las Vegas just this month got rent control, even if it's stability, but I still want to keep rent control in mind.
I don't have an issue with that. I just got to look and see how our legislators operate because they preempt us on a lot of different things. So I have to make sure that we can kind of get that little caveat in there. That's why I want to make sure I have a whole complete package when I actually introduce something to be looked at. So that is not off the table, but again, that's why I'm gonna have my office do the study, and that way I'll have the facts in reference to rent control, who all has it, and what our legislation says and towards rent control.
That's
All right.
quite all right. And the other part of giving the buildings to Florida, we give builders free hand, and that's another part of having the rent go up. So someone needs to start monitoring buildings. We have a really, really weak part of that. And just in Washington, we visit some of the congressmen, even though they are in Congress, a group of us went to talk to the congressmen and let them know the ones who actually receive money from the buildings, from the builders. So we need to look into that as well. They're having free reign, and that's why they're able to do a lot of this, and we have not been paying attention to any of it. How Haiti is being moved away, a part of Miami is being moved away, and we don't have to mention about Florida, Tampa. All downtown was once a part to live, and that's gone. So we really do, not only just the stabilization, but we also need to concentrate on the people from Congress and the senators not getting the other part. So it's not one-sided. It's all the way around the circle you'll have to start doing for us to remember our middle class. They have worked too long, too hard, and to have their money disappear from Social Security and retirement, and it's very unfair. And we should not have to worry about deciding milk or car insurance, whether to do that. My rent went up 42% when it's only supposed to be 30%. Car insurance is now $292 compared to plus adding the rent. And again, there are a lot of people, young people, because I've talked to them, middle class, and they don't have car insurance. They can't afford it.
I understand.
And with that, and especially with car insurance going where they take your credit, anything happen, that means if you have to move, that's another point on your credit. And there's nothing there. So it's like a circle, and we need to work on all of it. It's for all of us. I shouldn't have to spend my retirement, my 30 or more years that I have worked with the Department of Labor and privately, to start being afraid to spend a penny. And I shouldn't. It's okay to work part-time. I'm not totally bored, but I have to be able to catch up to do that. But let me go to work because I want to, not because I gotta.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Miss
Thank
Alice, Miss Alice, could you
Yes.
do me a favor and make sure you give us your whole name over here?
Oh, okay.
Thank you so very much for your comments. I appreciate it. Okay, any other comments? Excellent. We're going to close the public comment section. Oh, okay. Come on forward, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Yes, my name is Francisco Pierre Lewis. My address is 1401 De Beers Drive. So I pay over $1,000 a month, and that rent is split through 5 people: my mom, dad, sister, brother-in-law, and me. We tried getting public housing in the past, but the list was so long it probably would have taken years. The need for affordable housing is increasing as wages are stagnant and rent is increasing in subnormal apartments due to gentrification in my community. And I've lived in the university area for almost 20 years. I hope that by hearing my testimony today, something can be done about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. Francisco, could you do me a favor and make sure you put your name down over here?
I would just like to show off my organized Florida, which we all belong to from our class as a housing leadership. I just wanted to show it
That's
off.
great.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the public comment. I'd entertain a move to approve the minutes of August 5th.
Second.
Okay, great. We have a first and a second. Any opposed? All approved?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. We've been busy. We're at the Chamber's report. We have been wonderfully busy. A lot of good things have happened over the last 30 to 40 or 60 days. And I'm very proud to report that the Board of County Commission has actually addressed lots of wonderful things. One, based on a couple of meetings and conversation about how do we actually bring greater strength to the conversation associated with affordable housing, the Board of County Commission did approve the Affordable Housing Advisory Board's reorganization, The resolution was passed on September 18th at the regular board meeting and unanimously adopted to modify the membership of the Affordable Housing Advisory Board. The Board of County Commission's desire to reorganize the composition will allow us the full participation of all 3 of our local municipalities within the county, as well as including a representative, a board member from Hillsborough Area Regional and Transit Authority, so that we have a transit voice at the table when we are speaking about developing housing policies and recommending that to the Board of County Commission, as well as a board member from the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission. So that's why we need someone from your board, and looking forward to that. The duties of the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, especially for those that are new to this table and to this conversation, is primarily statutory responsibility to prepare a triennial report evaluating the implementation of affordable housing incentives and how we can maximize their use. In addition, the AHAB board shall also approve the county's affordable housing priorities and the local affordable housing biennial plan, which we are in the process of working on right now, and to provide advice to the Board of County Commissions regarding the potential affordability of affordable housing projects. That gives not only the county guidance, but all of our stakeholders guidance, and where we can create some economies of scale and partnership and coordination creates greater opportunity for the citizens that live within Hillsborough County. We encourage staff attendance for all the different stakeholders that are invited, so that as issues come up and we're able to address those issues, not only of constituents that come to speak about in public comment, but also in following up on opportunities that are discussed in this meeting. The county agency will be primarily responsible for staffing the AHAB, will be the Affordable Housing Services Department, thank you, and representatives from the Homeless Services, Development Services, and Economic Development and Management, as well as Budget Department and the County Attorney's Office, shall attend the regular and special meetings of the AHAB Board. The AHAB members, those that represent other municipalities, are encouraged to invite other appropriate staff from the governments or organizations they represent, so that we're able to do the collaboration we're looking to do. AHAB composition. This actually was to be able to make sure that we not only had leaders in our community, but we also gave them a voice, because our AHAB board is actually statutorily limited to 11 members with a variety of different descriptions. So after my office, along with Ms. Howell's office, played Rubik's Cube with all of the rules that we had to live with, without having to expand the board to a mammoth board that sometimes can be a little difficult to manage, we use the rules to give us the ability to bring to the table a list of stakeholders that hopefully can help us move the needle forward in the area of affordable housing. The following 11 voting members will be appointed by the Board of County Commission. Each of the organizations have an opportunity to make that appointment to the board, and then the Board of County Commissions will make that approval. The one member will be the Board of County Commissioners, Hillsborough County. The second will be an elected official from City of Temple Terrace, selected by the City of Temple Terrace. That's Miss Sherry Donahue. Thank you. The elected official from Plant City and selected by the City of Plant City. I did speak briefly with Mayor Lott last week. He was pretty excited about having representation from Plant City, and he may take the job himself. So we'll see what happens there. An elected official from the City of Tampa, selected by the City of Tampa. Thank you, Mr. Goods, for serving in that position. And Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Authority board member, selected by the Hart Board. The Hart Board did meet last meeting and appointed Adam Hardin, which his approval will be approved when the BOCC gets together to approve all the new members. a citizen's engaged in residential home building industry in connection with affordable housing. That particular position, I just lost my place, currently is Mr. Mark Rosenwasser. So thank you very much for your service. We have a vacant position, but soon to be appointed, a member of the Housing Finance Authority of Hillsborough County, or the HFA Board, which you'll hear quite often, selected by the HFA Board, or a citizen actively engaged in the banking or mortgage banking industry in connection with affordable housing. So there is an opportunity for private enterprise to partner with us, but currently we're going to go with the Housing Finance Authority as a starting place. Number 8, a citizen who's actively engaged in an advocate for low-income persons in connection with affordable housing. Currently, that is being served by Tina Fernandez. Then there is, excuse me, sorry. Then there's a citizen who is actively engaged in a non-for-profit provider of affordable housing. Mr. Schneider has been serving in that position, and your term expired in August. We are advertising for that position, so we'd love to see you reapply. But we're seeing some nice applications come in the door, so looking forward to that. And then number 10 is an at-large resident of Hillsborough County. Currently, Ms. Burton, you're serving in that particular role. And then, as I mentioned earlier, a voting member of the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission, selected by the Planning Commission, of which their meeting will occur in October 14th. So we're looking forward to that appointment. We have a pre-resolution for the members with unexpired terms who may be retained under the resolution as non-voting advisory board members for the duration of their term. So while we can't have more than 11 board members, we can have advisory members serve. And so I really, truly appreciate those that have served in that position where their terms don't expire until 2021. That's Mary Neves, or Chrissy Neves, Catherine O'Donnelly, who's unable to attend today, and then Elizabeth Strom. But all of them come due in 2021, and we look forward to their service as an advisor to this board. The pre-resolution AHAB members whose terms have recently expired is Esther Marshall with the mortgage and banking industry. Her term expired in August. David Snyder, as I mentioned, we'd love to see you return. And there are, let's see. We did have one other seat that's vacant that's not being put back into place, so we're good there. Next item on the agenda is the HOPE Affordable Housing Act. Yay! We got it done! And I couldn't have done it without HOPE's help. Approved on September 5th at the regular meeting, we established $10 million in a county-wide general fund for the program, for affordable housing programs. And the inclusion in that fund as an account balance for any monies previously allocated to the program and interest earned, which were not expended for the program in the prior years. So it is a rollover. If we don't get it spent, we don't lose it. It's not a use it and lose it deal. It allows us to make an ongoing commitment. We recognize that affordable housing is sometimes complicated and sometimes takes longer than we want it to, and we're trying to try and figure out a way to accelerate it. But the last thing we want to do is have monies disappear because we missed a deadline. So the good news is the Board of County Commission may determine in a public hearing by majority vote +1 that monies allocated to the program but not committed or expended may be reallocated to meet other urgent community needs. If we have a massive hurricane, we're going to have an affordable housing problem. But the emergency does need to be there. But it will take a majority +1 rather than just a majority vote. So Our board was very committed to make sure that it was very clear we're making a commitment to affordable housing, and unless we're in a really dire situation, our commitment is there. Within 3 months of the adoption of this ordinance, and then biannually afterwards, the Affordable Housing Services Department will submit a recommended affordable housing fund, a biennial plan. We've been asked to accelerate that by the Board of County Commission. Commissioner Miller at the last board meeting wants a report at the next board meeting, so we're going to try and do a preliminary report in order to get some information out there. However, we do need to set a public hearing in order to actually adopt the plan. So that may not occur until the end of November or early part of December. But we'll try and get it. We'll be scheduling that soon. The plan will occur, even though we had 6 months to do it, we are doing it quickly. The plan will include priorities for expending the funds allocated to the program, strategies which will be eligible for assistance under the program. We love collaborating with everybody else. A description of the affordability restrictions and requirements and loan and grant terms applicable for each adopted strategy. A description of how funds in the program will be distributed among the very low income, and moderate income households. A description of the procedure for selecting projects receiving funds under the program. A summary of the use of the program funds in the immediate preceding 2 years. The reason we want to make sure this is very clear is so that all of our partners have an understanding of not only how we're operating, but how to get involved. And the more clarity we can provide and transparency we can provide, the better we're able to thrive. The use of the funds. The funds allocated to the program shall be used to provide loans and grants for projects to create and sustain affordable housing for very low, or moderate income households in Hillsborough County. These funds are also funded countywide, so it gives us an opportunity to partner all throughout the county with our partners. The program shall include, without limitations, providing assistance through the production, acquisition, rehabilitation, and preservation of land and or housing units for rental and home ownership activities. The program funds shall not be used for supported housing services such as daycare and job training. We have great organizations that do that best, and we're looking forward to partnering with them, but we wanted to make sure these funds were utilized for creating housing for people to live in. Not more than 5% of the funds allocated to the program may be used to cover administrative expenses. That's lower than the SHIP or the SAIL program, which typically is at 10%. We want to make sure that we're using every single penny as much as we can, but we do know that it takes a bit to manage these programs, so we wanted to make sure that there's funds to make sure we weren't doing a penny wise and pound short. Not less than 30% of the funds will be allocated to the program shall be spent on affordable housing for very low income housing. So the focus on those that desperately need it the most for these funds is set in the language. And not less than 30% of the funds allocated to the program shall be spent on affordable housing for low income. So we're actually making sure that a majority of the funds, 60%, at least 60%, are allocated to the very low and low income persons to help them get stability in their lives so that they can take care of their families and so that they can actually be productive citizens that they want oftentimes to be. Many of these individuals that are eligible for these programs are public servants. There are our teachers, our law enforcement, our firefighters, those that actually take care of a lot of the services around the city and the county. So we want to make sure that our working folks have a solid place to be and creating as much opportunity as possible. So with that, as I mentioned, we're going to have to get this plan done a little faster than we planned. But the goal here is to make sure that we actually get the information out there so we can start getting this money allocated as quickly as possible. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the director.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cheryl Howell. I'm the Affordable Housing Director, and it certainly is a pleasure to see all of you out in the audience this morning, and all of you that are interested in our affordable housing plight. I want to share a few things with you this morning, so I'll go through it pretty quickly. We have our 2019 State Housing Initiative Partnership Annual Report. That's our SHIP report. That's an annual report that goes out each and every year. This past year, we spent about $6.2 million on affordable housing. That's $6.2 million on affordable housing. Much of that went to down payment assistance, owner-occupied rehab, other types of down payment assistance that we leverage with USDA fund. We have multifamily reconstruction and multifamily new construction included in that too. So it includes the gamut. You know, I think it takes all of these types of activities plus more, really, to meet the needs of the people. So I'm proud of the collective work that we've been able to do with the SHIP with the SHIP funding from the state. The next item that is on my list is the affordable housing property inventory. And the affordable housing property inventory is simply a list of inventory that we have within our coffers that we're looking to utilize to augment our efforts. So we'll have land plus funding that we can offer to increase the interest and the outcome, hopefully, in producing affordable housing units. And so if we can offer land, then it makes the project more affordable. And so that's what we're working towards. We have our recently approved Board of County Commissioner agenda items, and I'm going to go through those quickly, but we do a tremendous amount of work within our division. I want to say thank you to the staff. We have about 19 or 20 staff that oversees a tremendous amount of money. So we are working hard every day, all the time, and so I'm proud of their output and also proud of our partner agencies and what we've been able to accomplish together. We did a joinder and consent agreement for Donna Gardens. That's a development going up over in East Tampa. For those of you who are not aware, we got 6 of the units open now, 6 are coming open, and 12 is in the pipeline to be developed. East Tampa is an area that has not seen much new construction or development in quite some time, but I want to say that it's on our radar. We did a modification of CDBG funding agreement with Miracles Outreach. Miracles Outreach provides, I want to say, not really transitional housing, but supportive housing for kids aging out of foster care. You know, and many of you know that just because a kid gets 18, they are not ready for the pressures of life. I'm 58 and not ready sometimes. So, you know, that's a wonderful program. We had 2 projects that we did an extension on for those. We had the list of real properties where we got those properties transferred over from our real estate department. That's more of an administrative process, so that those of you who are out in the audience, I want to encourage you to take a look at that list of properties, and you don't have to wait for the Affordable Housing Advisory Board meeting to review those properties. You can contact us at any time, and we can provide a list of those properties for you. We did a satisfaction and release of mortgage for Self-Reliance. They met their terms on a project they had completed. We did a substantial amendment to make some changes in some of the projects that were not able to move forward. just administratively so that we could get some projects done on the timeline that we needed. We did a budget amendment to our SHIP funding, and that's just to demonstrate our program income and our allotted SHIP funds for this year. So the state works at from July 1st to June 30th funding time year, and we work from October 1st to September 30th. So we're a little bit off with that, and we have to bring those in later. That's the appropriation for real housing. We also did a modification with Plant City. Plant City is doing some good things over in that area, but they needed to modify their agreement so that they wouldn't have to put down sidewalks and tear them back up again. And so it just made common sense to do that. And we got one more item. We had that Donna Gardens, we had actually two projects that were delayed for a little while. We had Cedar Point and Donna Gardens, and so we had to come back in to amend our previous SHIP report to demonstrate complete enclosure of those projects. And for those of you who were not at the Cedar Point ribbon cutting, it was an excellent opportunity to see what you influence at work. This was just a joinder and consent. The resolution for AHAB, and I want to say that's it for the agenda items. We have a few of our managers here this morning. I want to say we got two managers from affordable housing this morning. We have Michelle Boone that's sitting right up front, and she'll talk to you a little bit about what we're doing in monitoring and compliance in our contracts division. And we also have our planning and reporting person. She is the one that's responsible for the request for proposals that's going to be coming out very, very soon. Very, very soon. So listen up, guys. Okay, Michelle, if you'll come forward.
See, there is a lot going on.
Good morning again. I'm Michelle Boone I'm the compliance and monitoring manager, and I'm also acting as the acting contracts division manager until we can bring someone else on. But the two divisions kind of go hand in hand, and I'm going to brag for a little bit just to tell you all kind of what we're doing and some of the amount of work that we're doing. It's impressive to me. We currently have 75 open projects that are in some stage of approval from HUD, construction, rehab, down payment assistance. All of our agreements, there are 75. So we have a staff of about 9 that handle all of those contracts. It's about $30 million worth of projects that are on the street right now. That covers about 3 years of open projects, but they're all different types: public facilities, CDBG, housing, construction, owner rehab, public services. We do work in Temple Terrace and Plant City, new construction. Blue Sky just did a ribbon cutting or groundbreaking today, so we're very proud of the things that we're doing there. Let's see. Then, after all of the projects are completed or throughout the projects, from the monitoring side, we monitor every project on an annual basis, if that's the desk audit, or we may go out to see the project. We currently have 70 multifamily projects that are in their affordability period. So we monitor them every year for affordability. We make sure the properties are well maintained. And we make sure the rents are controlled, or at least the incomes for the tenants are within the limits, SHIP, home, CDBG, and that the facilities are doing what they're supposed to do, they're maintained, and the tenants that need them are living there throughout the generally 20 to 30 years of affordability. So if you have any questions, I can answer.
I don't think you're getting enough done.
I know.
Yeah, we, in this weekend's paper, and to your comment, in this weekend's paper was some comments of some individuals that wanted to get involved in affordable housing. Oh, yep, here it is, low-cost housing. And I would suggest that, no, it's not being stalled, it's just getting in the queue because there is so much going on. But it is a little complicated, and it does require that we monitor all the projects that we work on. So I want to commend you and your staff on monitoring 70 projects and also managing 75 open projects with 9 people. This is called lean and mean, folks. So thank you very much for your report and look forward to seeing the great work you're doing.
I want to say to the affordable housing developers that are out in the audience, thank you. If everybody could do affordable housing development, this room would be bursting at the seams all the time. It's not for the faint of heart. It is not for the faint of heart because affordable housing is not affordable. It's truly expensive to develop. It takes so many different funding sources to make it happen, and we always have to look out for what is the public benefit in the process. So I want to say that the team does a marvelous job at doing that. Our partners do a great job, and we do a lot of back and forth, tugging, but we get there. And I can't say enough about our county attorney's office and what she does in support of everything that we do. So, and I'll be quiet and we'll let Hollinger.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
I have a
Howell.
question.
Good morning. I'm Willette Hollinger, Manager of Planning in the Reporting Division. Unfortunately, we're a team of 3, and we have 3 functions: planning, reporting, and as my director mentioned, RFPs. So under planning, we take care of things such as the consolidated plan, which is our 5-year plan. Under the SHIP portion, the LHAP and the LHIS, which is our local housing assistance plan, and the local housing incentive strategies, and the action plan annually, and then any substantial amendments that may occur during the years. Under reporting, we take care of the CAPER, which is our consolidated annual performance and evaluation report. That's done annually. We're in CAPER zone right now. Any federal reporting through HUD in our IDIS system, which is Integrated Disbursement and Information System, all of the labor reports, a SHIP narrative, and the NSP quarterly, Neighborhood Stabilization Program. We have a ton of acronyms, if I'm losing anybody. And under RFPs, which is our 3rd function, earlier this year we did our annual CDBG Public Service and Public Facility / Housing, the ESG, THHI portion of it. And then we also did early on a home RFP. And we also are responsible for the request for quotes for any of our services, such as underwriting and environmental consultant. What you have to look forward from us now, what you can look forward to now is our home funding coming out within the next 60 days, home, land, and the MSTU RFP. So that's what you have to look forward to from planning and reporting. And again, I'm Willette Hollinger with planning and reporting.
Thank you very, very much. Do you, I think, Ms. Donahue, you had a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. In that article, there were some questions raised about the hoops and things that they had to go through in order to get housing. Have those questions had been considered to, like, one thing was the permit is the same, whether you're building affordable housing or you're building something on Bayshore, it's the same. So has anything been looked at to address, some assistance or some leeway there? I mean, I understand how permitting works. I work in a city that requires it as well. So, I thought that was a valid point that these gentlemen brought up. And I guess that's really my question. Those concerns, is someone, I realize just because you read it in the paper doesn't mean that it's an active and serious problem. But it was something that kind of caught my eye, and I didn't know how you could address that if you can.
I want to say in our incentive strategies that there is an accelerated kind of permit. It does not relax any guidelines or what needs to be met, but that there is an accelerated process. And I want to say that we couple that with great customer service. And so we have developers and partners that we work with each and every day. And if they're having a problem in the process, we will walk them down to development services. We meet with the building official because we want to be helpful in that process. It is a complicated path to navigate, but we are here to be of support to them. And yes, you are correct. Not everything is completely.
Yeah, anytime you're dealing with construction services, development services, it can be a little difficult to navigate. And when you add a layer of affordable housing to the process, it can be daunting. As she said earlier, it's not for the faint of heart. And that isn't because we want to make it difficult. We actually, the accelerated permitting within the county is and hand-holding all the way through that process. I know Adam Gardenley's department is looking at ways that we can streamline the process significantly, and we, over the next, probably over the next 6 months, but starting at the end of this month, Hillsborough County is looking at its land code and planning code to see where there's opportunities to improve the process and simplify the process so that home development, whether it be individual single-family or multifamily, can actually work in such a way that it works. The challenge we have is, it still doesn't alleviate the huge amount of infrastructure that is demanded when building places for people to live, no matter what type it is. And if you're not familiar with that, it can be pretty overwhelming.
Well, I have absolutely expect that if anything, that every standard be met. I mean, absolutely no fudging on that. I think one of the questions that he brought up was that the cost to apply for affordable housing is the same exact cost. The permits were the same exact cost, no matter what amount the house and ultimately, or the unit or building or whatever. So if it costs, and I think he used the term, I think he said $13,000 or $13,000 for one that I'm building for myself as my own personal home, or $13,000 if I'm building it for affordable housing, it was the same. So my question is there any chance for a reduction or an incentive or something to help lower the price of these units?
So I'm not quite sure what he was referencing, so if he's referencing just permit fees or if he's referencing like impact fees as well. Really, that's difficult to figure out from where we are now. But what I can tell you is that we have an impact fee relief program for affordable housing units, and so when the developer actually comes in, once we get the paperwork, a certain percentage of that is paid on behalf of that project. So we do offer that incentive. Yes, sir.
What I hear from a lot of developers, especially if you're talking about density going up, is that the parking garages are an issue. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that, when you add that extra expense, they can't make it affordable because of that. So that may be something in the future we need to look at if we're talking about bringing more affordability, because they're saying with the impact of building a parking garage with that building, it's really hurting them as far as the bottom line. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we may look in the future if we're talking about really doing, I don't really call it affordable housing. I call it working class or low income housing, because when you say affordable could be anybody in this room's affordability, knowing where it's at. So I think that's something we're going to have to look at as far as those parking garages, because that's what's really hurting the bottom line.
And that's part of the reason why the comp plan becomes such an important component of this board, as they provide us with not only guidance on how we grow, but also having heart being represented on this board. Because where it makes sense, waiving parking requirements requires having transit assets as an alternative. You talk to any neighborhood where you know, and I'm not picking on the city, but it has happened a few times, where we've waived parking requirements for businesses along those corridors only to have the neighborhoods inundated with cars parked in front of houses, which they don't own that street, but it is, you know, the perception that's my street. So where we find opportunities for marrying transit and affordable housing can help probably alleviate that, and then we can get it in our code so that it makes sense for our builders. But thank you. I've definitely got that on my list of things to talk about as we grow. Ms. Burton.
I want to just see if Ms. Howell could just kind of walk me down quickly the relationship of THII in terms of the partnership and then the partnership they have with the county and their layers of partners that they are providing services to the community.
They're actually on the agenda.
Well, no, I think Homeless Services is, but THHI is Tampa Hillsborough Homeless Initiative, and they really are kind of a broker agency that serves homeless issues within the city of Tampa and in unincorporated Hillsborough County. So both the city and the county support THHI in their effort to work with other agencies. They are not a direct service organization, but they work with other agencies such as Catholic Charities, Metropolitan Ministries. They do a tremendous amount of work with them, Alpha House, Epic, A. Brown Ministries. There's several different organizations that they work with, and they're always open to working with other agencies. And we really we had a conversation, I want to say last year, to really encourage them to go out to look for some more small grassroots agencies to kind of bring on board so that we can trump up some of our services. But we have a great partnership with them. I believe that they do excellent work. But they're not a direct service organization, but they are an organization that's not limited like we've been historically in looking at unincorporated Hillsborough County, or the city of Tampa is looking at the activities that's going on within the city, because we know that many of our populations are very fluid, and so that's an organization that can allow us to do some things that we wouldn't ordinarily be able to do with agencies without that process being fractured.
The good news is, I mean, THHI has its own board, and they've set their own agenda and their own policies. But the county commission actually made a pretty healthy commitment to THHI's Pro 560 plan. Originally on our county commission flag list was a $2 million allocation. And then when we would just discuss the BP oil reserves, I made a recommendation for another $2 million. That way, there's a great opportunity for the THHI to help support those individuals as they get ready for secure housing, so that they are best prepared for that, and to make sure that those that are falling through the crack don't completely get through it. So I'm looking forward to seeing those things manifest as our budget gets approved and moves forward. Next item.
Yes, I just want to say that THHI is doing some other great things too. So they're doing a second chance program, a speed leasing program, an expungement program. So there are several other things that they're addressing that really stand as barriers for people accessing housing, period. Not just accessing affordable housing, but accessing housing. And so they're doing a number of different things in that arena that serves as a strengthening or support of people attaining or emerging out of homelessness.
Yeah, I guess what I was really wanting to know, what was your financial, if any, commitment to that organization? What is the county? Do the county give them any financial support?
Yes, the county does lend financial support.
How much? That's,
I am not sure exactly how much the county commits, so I can't answer that right now. But I know that we use $500,000 of CDBG funds to support homeless activities, and we use another $500,000 for emergency shelter grant.
Connie, I think it would be absolutely fabulous if we put on, maybe not the next agenda, well, maybe the next agenda, but for a future issue that we bring THHI to the board to do a presentation on a status of THHI's efforts and their funding so that we can find out and not only share with our partners, what they're doing, but also find out how they're moving forward with the $4 million that basically we started with, but there was additional partnership money coming from the county in addition to that. So, but yeah, it's better funded than it has been in a while. So I'm
And
glad to see it.
THHI has, they have a monthly board meeting as well, and I'm sure, all of their board members are there, and I'm sure they share all of their budget information and all of that stuff too. So, but any information that I can share, I certainly will. I want to talk about the federal, state, local updates. So there was an announcement, a news release for the that's pertaining to the USDA providing $150 million to help rural communities. This is for rural areas. This is provided through the USDA. It typically comes in the form of grant/loan. And so it's for community facilities. It is under the Community Facilities Program. And so I've worked with those programs before. It's been quite some time. So I encourage you, there's a notice here, but we can get you the link to it as well, so that you can go in and look and see what some of the qualified areas are. And last but not least is our monthly newsletter. We talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been able to do. As you know, we can't include everything on this one pager here, but we got some highlighted projects I want to list out. We got Children's Home Network. We got Preserve at Sable Park, and that should be finishing up, I want to say, by January or February. We have Gardens at Downer Point, and we got Sable Place Apartment, and that project had the groundbreaking today. Was that correct? The groundbreaking was today, and that's a beautiful partnership between Blue Sky Communities and Metropolitan Ministries. And so I'm happy to say that Sean, as a developer, is looking to work with the nonprofits. He is allowing the nonprofits to come on and take ownership in the development process, which is a huge deal. If you're working in the development industry, you know how big of a deal that is. And so thank you for that, and thanks for all you do.
Blue Sky, they're doing, I believe they came to council, and they're doing way under the medium income. Is that the group you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm going to take some liberty, if you don't mind. Sean Wilson is here from Blue Sky Communities. We did have a groundbreaking on the second phase of Sable Park. I actually was fortunate enough to attend the groundbreaking of the first phase, and this morning's stories were so inspiring, and it helps us recognize why we're doing this. Can you share a little bit about your project and tell us a little bit about this morning?
Sure. Thank you very much, Councilman. Sean Wilson, Blue Sky Communities, 5300 West Cypress. I did go in front of the City Council a few weeks ago, and I think I handed out some invitations.
You got our attention.
To the groundbreaking. So Sable Place is typical of what Blue Sky does. We do new construction of affordable rental housing, and the income set-asides are usually one sliver of the units, let's say 15 or 20%, will be very low income, either 30% or 35% of area median income, which translates into a total household income of about $25,000. And then most of our units, so usually about 80% of our units are set aside for 60% of area median income, which translates into about $35,000 or $40,000 per year total household income. So that's who we serve. And those income set-asides are pretty much set by the federal government under the tax credits program, which provides most of the funding for our communities. And then we are usually applying to the city or the county for what we call the gap funding, which is really, really important as well. And so that's what we do. That's who we serve.
So are you working with our Vanessa McClaring at all for any projects in the city?
Yes, sir. And I'm on the city I'm on the equivalent of this board for the city, which is called the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And my fellow member, Harry Hedges, is also here, and he's an esteemed member of the Affordable Housing Development and Advocacy Community as well. And
how's that coming along? We have council hasn't heard too much about the board, so how's that coming along?
The Affordable Housing Advisory Committee?
For the city,
well,
I know she just
this is
established
not the mayor's task force.
Okay.
That's a sort of a beginning, middle, and end thing. The Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, it goes on forever, and so we do meet periodically, almost every month, and it's going really well. I mean, Vanessa, she's excellent. I mean, Vanessa is the equivalent of Cheryl, of course, at the city, and they both do a great job. They both have a very strong understanding of the federal and state programs that are out there. And Vanessa and Cheryl both do an excellent job of organizing their teams to make sure that those funds are spent efficiently.
Sean, thank you so very much. Could you do me a favor and tell a shorter version of the woman that spoke this morning regarding her journey?
Well, one of the women who spoke this morning came from homelessness through a Metropolitan Ministries transitional program, and hers was not. It wasn't really a case of drug and alcohol. It was not a case of mental illness. It was a case of a few spiraling things that happened in her personal life that impacted her ability to be there for her children when they needed them, which then impacted her ability to be there for her boss when he or she needed her. And so because of a few events, this woman was, she had stable housing, but she didn't really have any disposable income. She was overpaying for housing. So when she had one or two or three little things go wrong, she slipped into homelessness. She wound up sleeping in a place not fit for human habitation, was then able to access some of the homeless services that THHI provides. She got a motel for a short period and then got into a transitional program. And then hopefully, so residents like her are people who are going to come into Sable Place and the other communities that we build, and the other communities that the other affordable housing developers build as well. So it doesn't take a lot.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
it doesn't. Yeah, thank you very much. Listening to her story this morning, it became readily obvious that it really only takes one little trip to find folks living in their storage bins with their children. It takes one domestic violence occurrence. It takes one sexually abused child occurrence to cause a family to crumble and to find themselves in need of just getting back up on their feet. Not for the lack of trying or not for the lack of working and contributing to our society, but for the lack of the safety net that we can also provide. So thank you very much for the story this morning. It was quite impressive. And it helps confirm why we are all here today and what we're working to do. Okay. We're going to skip the vendor report today because we don't have really a vendor report, but let's move on to the interdepartmental, just way too hard to say, reports from Economic Development, Homeless Services, and Land Use Development Services. Starting with Lindsay Kimball.
Good morning. I'm Lindsay Kimball. I'm the Director of Economic Development, and I'm happy to be here this morning or afternoon with you. So I was asked to give an overview of the department and maybe some ways that we can work together. Certainly Cheryl and I do work together, and I enjoy working with her. And it's exciting because they recently reorganized the county government. So now Cheryl and I are both in the same administration, which I think makes a lot of sense and has been great working with her. So our Economic Development Department, we take a very broad view of what is economic development. We actually consider it economic prosperity for all people. And we address this from many different angles. So we believe in three things: productive growth, inclusive growth, and sustainable growth. Drive our mission. So productive growth, that's the business side. So how can we help our entrepreneurs? How can we help businesses be more productive? How can we remove some barriers if there's barriers to those businesses? Also, the inclusive side, that's our citizens. So how do we make sure that everybody is participating in part of that economic growth and prosperity? And then finally, sustainable growth is addressing our community's resources. Those can be natural, environmental. It can also be cultural and historical resources, and making sure that we're being good stewards of those. So business recruitment is generally what people think of when they think of economic development. So that's the big sexy projects everybody sees, the CAE groundbreaking or the Amazon or something like that. That's just a small piece of our work product. We also have about 12 core programs. Sounds like an oxymoron, but we have 12 programs. We have agribusiness, because we still have a lot of agriculture going on in our community. We have competitive sites, which ensures that we have sites that are ready to go if we do have a company who's looking to expand or relocate. We have targeted industry development, and that's the main headline generator that people think of with economic development. That's the recruitment of big industries. We also have EDI2, which is the Economic Development Innovation Initiative, which is focused on our tech and high-growth startups, working with our incubators, accelerators, and co-working spaces. We also have the Entrepreneur Collaborative Center, which, as the name implies, brings together various resources in our community. We have programs going on all day, almost every day of the week, all hours of the day there. It's really become a central hub for entrepreneurship in our community, and I invite you all out there in Ybor to visit the center. We'd love to have you. We also have our entrepreneur services. So these are county staff members that work under a contract with the Small Business Development Network, the SBDC network, and they go out into the community. They go to people's places of business. We also have arrangements with many of our regional chambers, and those chambers that don't actually have a physical presence, but we're there to support them and provide small business services. We also have workforce development, which I was going to go into a little bit further today, working with our partners at CareerSource and the UACDC, Speak Up Tampa Bay, and a Manufacturing Alliance. We also have in our purview the MBE and SBE inclusion program, so minority business certification and small business registration programs, so we can make sure that we've got inclusion in county procurements. And we also have redevelopment. We have 4 economic development redevelopment areas in the community. We also have tourism development. So we say grace over the administration of the bed tax that is collected on room nights in Hillsborough County. And finally, we work on cultural assets, so building a quality community. We have a cultural assets program. We also have relationships with all of the major venues in the community and cultural institutions. So today I was going to just give you a quick update on workforce initiatives that I've mentioned, because I believe that might be the I know it is a great nexus to the affordable housing equation. So while Cheryl and her team are working at it from a product side and a supply side, we're trying to go after things to improve the affordable housing situation from workforce development, skills training, increasing the opportunities, the job opportunities for people. So we work, about 5 years ago, the county created, the county commissioners adopted the Manufacturing Alliance. And what this provides is a pathway to careers in manufacturing focused on entry level and shop floor level, we like to call opportunities for people. So and it also provides pathways to those careers with our partners at HCC, Hillsborough County Public Schools, Hillsborough County Public Schools, Adult Training Centers, and Career Source Tampa Bay, as well as a very key part of this partnership is that we have private sector manufacturers who are part of that, who helped design some of the curriculum, who are helping drive the placements, obviously, for people coming out of the program. And some examples of what we did. So we have enhanced learning, we call it enhanced learning environments at local high schools. So the county has been able to allow the school system to make greater capital investments in these very expensive tools and machines that are needed to help train people. So we, those are things like lathes and tooling and die working, welding technology. There's a huge demand for welders, and about 1,000 students last year went through these programs that the county helped to fund. Also, at HCC, they're focused on it's called a CPT certification, and also mechatronics certifications. These are what we call shop floor level. This is how you get your foot in the door at a manufacturer. So we had 79 people complete CPT certifications and 9 in mechatronics. And mechatronics is a little higher level certification. It's kind of the part 2 of the CPT training. Also, we were very proud to be a partner with Career Source Tampa Bay Youth Internship Program this summer. We assisted 800 youth in gaining meaningful job experiences. The vast majority of those youth were eligible from families who are eligible for TANF or temporary assistance to needy families. So, and we also, the county contributed money as well to go to youth coming from families in lower income brackets to help them get meaningful job experience over the summer. I also mentioned we work with the University Area Community Development Corporation. We have an ongoing contract with them where they provide workforce training assistance and classes for residents of the university area, up to 550 unemployed and underemployed university area residents. Also, I just wanted to mention really quick our redevelopment program. So our redevelopment program was written, of course, from an economic development perspective. So we are focused on creating commercial and industrial rehabilitation of the properties so that we can create jobs. But I think, again, the nexus there to this committee, in my opinion, is that we're supporting job opportunities in areas of high poverty and disinvestment. And when you compare the property values, it's a good indicator of, the despair and the underutilization of the area. These were areas that were identified because of the disinvestment happening. So we're trying to encourage reinvestment in those areas. And finally, another connection between affordable housing and economic development would be stable families mean stable employees. So that's very important to us from an economic development perspective. That means a reduction in employee turnover, if you want to speak the language of the corporate entities. So reduction of employee turnover, reduction in training costs. Again, we're helping to revitalize underutilized areas through redevelopment. Land is a huge factor in the cost of these affordable housing developments. So when you try and find lower cost land, it's going to be in these areas that need revitalization. So if we can get that synergy going of jobs and a place to live and proximity and transportation, we've got to get all these pieces of the puzzle working together. And finally, affordable housing crises happen when there is, high economic opportunity. So the areas that I've seen in our country that have the worst affordable housing crisis are places of the greatest disproportion of wealth. So you've got places like San Francisco, Silicon Valley, New York. We want to make sure that people have the opportunity to employment equity. So it's important that you realize that as we solve this affordable housing problem, you can also provide people with greater access to opportunities. Otherwise, you're pricing people out of proximity to those higher job opportunities and being able to create and generate their own wealth. So that's the importance of this committee and the topic of affordable housing in our community from an economic development perspective. So I just want to say I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to assist in any way that I can with the group.
Lindsay, thank you very, very much. Making that correlation is critically important, and that's why I'm so glad you guys are together.
Can we applaud? I'd like to applaud.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, I don't, this isn't televised or anything, and what a
Yeah,
shame.
it's televised.
Oh, is it?
televised,
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Then
you're on
A
camera.
lot of people are hearing you, because that's what we need to know. Hope, there's hope. We're together collaborating. I mean, I'm getting flushed, because that's just everything you said. I was having a hard time keeping up here, you're talking so fast. Sorry. At the same time, that's what we need to know. Okay, I mean, I know when, and please, when I ask questions, I know that there's not a person here that isn't working every second to accomplish the goals of affordable housing and, like you said, sustainable families. But that was, I'm sorry for the next two people who have to report.
Sorry, Felicia.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And
so much. Happy
and
to be
that's
here.
that's part of the reason why we want to bring stakeholders to this conversation, to the table, to not only show what is going on, but how it's being done, so that people can start thinking about where do they fit in this conversation and how can they help create great opportunities both on the private side and on the public side. And clearly your department is doing a great job of helping us achieve this goal. Thank you, Lindsay, very much. Next is homeless services, and then we have land use. Felicia Crosby Rucker?
You can do it.
No pressure.
No.
No pressure at all. Good afternoon.
Could you pull your mic a little closer?
Yes. Felicia Crosby Rucker, Hillsborough County Homeless Services Director. Okay.
Wow. Came with slides and everything. Awesome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm here to give you a brief overview of Hillsborough County Homeless Services and our role here in the community. Our mission is to promote and support a comprehensive approach to homelessness through coordination and partnerships in a multi-sector environment for the delivery of services while increasing safe, affordable housing options. Felicia, what does that really mean? I'm sure you're asking. Basically, we're here to meet people where they are. We're responsible for brokering and leveraging county resources as we work in partnership with Tampa Hillsborough Homeless Initiative, which is the lead entity for our community. They are designated by the federal and state government to be the lead entity for homelessness in our community. So our job here at Hillsborough County, we're the county liaison, and we identify funding and resources that we have here in our budget, and the grant funding, local funding, and other resources that we have that we can leverage with our community partners, including THHI, and we align them with the strategy so we can make sure we reduce homelessness in our community. And also, we believe that we can end homelessness. Ultimately, our goal is to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. And so our department role, we're a department of 8, all ladies, and what we do is we work every day to leverage those resources to make sure we reduce homelessness in our community. We know that homelessness is not just a government problem. We know it's a community problem. So what we're here to do is to meet people where they are and invite new partnerships, whether they're faith-based community, private sector, public sector, community groups, advocacy groups, whoever wants to come to the table and who believes in the vision and the mission that we can solve homelessness in our community. So what do we do specifically at Homeless Services? We do work towards creating a system of service. And then back in 2014, when we were created, around April and May, in the spring of 2014, we started an initiative to manage emergency bridge contracts in the community. As a result of the county's investment in partnering with nonprofits in the community to help reduce homelessness, what we've seen over the last 5 years is tremendous. We've seen a 15% decrease in overall homelessness. We've seen a 38% decrease in unsheltered homelessness. And next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about how we like to take credit that we contributed to that 38% decrease in unsheltered homelessness. We've seen a 37% decrease in veteran homelessness, 35% decrease in chronic homelessness, as well as a 36% decrease in unaccompanied youth homelessness in our community. Now, we don't do this alone. We know that we partner with our lead entity, THHI. We partner with local governments, the City of Tampa, the City of Temple Terrace, as well as the City of Plant City. We partner with local law enforcement. We partner with nonprofit agencies in the community like St. Vincent de Paul, Tampa Crossroads, the Salvation Army, and Mary Martha House, among many others in our community. So currently what we're doing, our initiatives, strategies, and projects, The county currently funds about 420 beds daily and 20 apartments in the community, and these are for people who are experiencing homelessness. This is strictly out of the county funds, local government funds. And the 420 beds and 20 apartments represent probably a little over a third of the total beds that are in the shelter system. So we feel like we definitely contributed to the 38% decrease in homelessness, because it kind of correlates right with the number of beds that we've brought online. We've increased it by a third, and also the number of people on the streets have decreased by a third, well, over a third. So at these county-funded shelters, persons and families that are experiencing homelessness can access case management, temporary housing, food, and support services. And the support services are services that are helping them move quickly out of homelessness. Our goal is to go in the door, for the clients to go into, the residents to go into shelter with the plan of exiting as quickly as possible. It's not that you have to get cleaned up. We're taking more of a housing first approach. We're meeting people where they are. The goal is when you walk in the door, the goal is the next day when you're meeting with your case manager, setting up an exit strategy. The goal is to get you into permanent housing and get you those wraparound services that you need. We partner with several agencies that we fund these 420 beds and 20 apartments in the community. We work with ACTS, and that's specifically for persons with mental health, substance abuse, and co-occurring disorders. We partner with DACO at their Community Housing Solutions Center, and that serves single men and women. We partner with Metropolitan Ministries, and their target audience primarily is families, but they do have a few beds for single women. We partner with Mary and Martha House in South County, and that serves women and children. And then we have a partnership with the Salvation Army for single men and women. So in our effort to help reduce and reduce homelessness in the community, we work closely with affordable housing, making sure that we work with them as they partner with developers in the community, Sean, with Blue Sky Communities, as well as Tampa Housing Authority and other developers in the community, where they do a set-aside. And Tampa Hillsborough Homeless Initiative is responsible for maintaining those set-aside units when they create new affordable housing in the community. So we work in partnership with affordable housing and Tampa Hillsborough Homeless Initiative in ensuring that the nonprofit partners are working to get families or singles into those units. We do a lot of community outreach and education, going out to faith-based communities or community groups, talking to them about homelessness in the community, and sharing resources on how to access the system of service or where to refer persons to that are experiencing homelessness. Also, we do inspections and coordination and tracking. So this is new. Since 2014, when we set up the department, Mr. Murrah required that everything that we funded for homelessness will have to be inspected. So what happens is each one of our partners that have a facility, a standalone building, that building is inspected every month by Hillsborough County Code Enforcement. The 20 apartments that are scattered throughout the community, they're inspected as they turn over. So not as often, probably every 2 to 3 months. So a person cannot move into those apartments until it's passed the code enforcement inspection. And as for the facilities, the standalone facilities, they're inspected every month. They know what our inspectors are looking for in code enforcement, and so they can't receive their payment until they have a past inspection. And that relationship has been going well. Also, we do disaster recovery planning. Our job is we work closely with the lead for our emergency support function, which is social services. And so when a storm or event is over, our department stands up and we're responsible for coordinating resources for people, not just people that are experiencing homelessness currently, but people who have been displaced because of an event, a hurricane or some event. It could be Hurricane Maria, where people were coming here from Puerto Rico. Also, too, we do a lot of special projects. We actually manage the county or the community's cold weather shelter plan. And we partner with about 7 groups, mostly faith-based groups, who open up their doors in the wintertime, typically around November or December, when the temperature hits 40 degrees, including wind chill. They open up their doors and call in their volunteers, and they provide a warm place for people without adequate heat, as well as persons that are experiencing homelessness. So we have a good relationship with our community partners. We're always looking for more community partners as well. Shameless plug. Also, too, we do emergency relocation. We've done some partnerships with the city of Plant City, as well as we've done a recent one that was in the news with the city of Tampa in regard to Friendship Palms. We step in, and basically our government and our charge is to meet people where they are and address the situation. Also, too, we provide staff support for special groups and initiatives that are going on for our community, including human trafficking, as well as the DCF DJJ dually involved youth system of care. So this Wordle kind of explains all of our partnerships that we do in the community. While we're a small team, it's 8 of us, our budget is about $4 million. We're really good at leveraging other people's resources. So our budget is small, but we work with a lot of people, especially in the county, to help. Even, I think maybe you can see the medical examiner's office. IFID. But yes, we actually do partner with the medical examiner's office. We've been able to use their genealogist that was on board to help us with a chronic homeless person and identify where their family was as a result of the research work that they've done. We partner with the Sunshine Line, and we help people who are eligible to access bus passes, or they do emergency transport to persons that are on the street. They may be on the street in Brandon and want to come to a shelter bed at DACA or Salvation Army. Sunshine Line, as a result of our partnership, they'll go out to the Walgreens on Bloomingdale and Providence and pick that person up, no charge, to our department, and they'll take that person to that shelter as long as that person is guaranteed a bed at that facility. So we tap into a lot of resources, and we leverage a lot. We do. We leverage a lot in the community. Any questions?
Any questions? Again, a bunch of rock stars. Seriously, there is no wonder why you've gotten some wonderful awards for the work that you've done, and I really appreciate you coming and bringing us up to speed on all the wonderful things you do. The safety net that your department provides for people is critical, and I recognize that sometimes of the year we're getting close to budget end, and you don't have the resources that you need to really help folks in the way we would all love you to be able to. Hopefully that number, as you said, will become obsolete. But in the meantime, you're doing a fabulous job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I may ask,
Yes.
This is almost mid-October.
Yes.
And while we're talking about it getting cold here,
Yes.
It's certainly getting colder up north.
Yes.
How much does that increase the need for your department's services when so many folks who may be homeless or close to homeless up north say, boy, it's only going to be 50 degrees or 40 degrees in Tampa, and then they come down here and put more pressure on you?
I'm not sure if it increases more, if I see more during the wintertime versus other times of the year. I think that people just identify when it's appropriate for them or when they have the resources in place to come here. We have people who send us emails to give us a heads up. We definitely appreciate the heads up, but we like to have people to have a plan when they come here, because it's hard to have a bed ready for someone overnight. The county beds, the over 400 beds and 20 apartments, we have over a 90% occupancy. And it's really hard. Every day, we're looking and trying to, we know that affordable housing is a solution to homelessness. And so we're working every day to partner with Cheryl and other people in the community. But I'm not seeing that it's more people that come in the wintertime because it's winter. Actually, I would say earlier in the year, typically when people get their income taxes.
Really?
They move forward. They
Thank
move
you.
south.
Interesting.
Yes.
Didn't they used to call them tin can tourists?
Thank you so very, very much for your report. That was very helpful. Last on the agenda, we had, other than future business, we had someone from Land Use and Development Services. I'm not sure they're here, so we can defer that to the next meeting. As you can tell, we're running a little long today, but our goal here is to make sure that we're bringing resources not only to the conversation, but bringing awareness to those issues. I'd like to entertain any future business. Any items for future business?
One question. In the past, and of course we have two of the three here, in the past we haven't had participation by one, two, or three of the cities within the county. Does the new program, the AHAB resolution, address that as far as making sure that they are here because they are part of the issue?
Okay, agreed. Part of today's, my items for future business are to address that issue. One, the resolution did recommend not only to have the representatives from the various municipalities, but we couldn't really just say, by the way, make your staff show up. So, but we recommend that each of the municipalities have an opportunity to pick who they feel be best appropriate. Would also like to add them to agenda items so that, for example, in interdepartmental reports can include a representative from the city or from either any of the cities to come talk about what they do best and how we can work together. Right now, this is part of what I wanted to bring up in future issues. We're proposing meeting on a monthly basis rather than every other month. There is some concern with small department managing the process of putting together the agenda. Today is obviously much more robust than normal because we had so much to cover. But I think there is some value in having that way we can keep the meeting to an hour and have an opportunity to add to the agenda items representatives from the various different municipalities to talk to us about what their priorities are, how it plays a part, and where opportunities for partnership can occur. So
I appreciate that because the change in leadership has had a definite effect. The leadership of this committee has had a definite effect on the activity of this committee, as well as the participation of the stakeholders. The room is full, and there were very many chairs before you were here. And I'm not adverse, I don't know about others, but I'm very thankful for the leadership of the City of Temple Terrace and the City of Tampa, and their very active participation since that change. And also as well as the work of the organizations such as Hope, who I've had the privilege of speaking with, and to, and the other organizations, the other stakeholders, because this problem is not going away. I deal with this problem in various capacities, locally here and across the Bay, as well as the state of Florida and nationally. And it's just continuing to get worse and worse and worse. And until we provide, I'm going to call it quality housing. I'm not going to call it minimal housing. I'm going to call it quality housing to those of us who can't afford it. And I'm saying those of us. I'm fortunate not to be one of those that can't afford it, but I see and know of and speak with many who have fallen into that place in life because of various things. One of the gentlemen who spoke earlier talked about felons finding jobs and homes. I could tell you that I've met with not only folks here in this county and city, but Pinellas and other counties throughout the state that have used our assistance, those of us on the public sector, to force our cohorts, if you will, to revise their approval requirements so that somebody who did something 20 years ago and serve their time is included in the eligibility list for both housing and for jobs. This world is a ever-changing place, And we need to make sure that, that we take care of us. Nobody else is going to do that. We have to take care of us. I could tell you that in one local city, I had to work with a couple of city council persons to come up with a plan that forced some major apartment owner groups to but force them to accept Section 8 and low-income groups, because they had a corporate policy nationwide that we don't accept Section 8. And I was shocked. And then when another company said the same thing, I was not only shocked, I was disappointed, having been in this business for 40 years. Because, as I said, everybody deserves a good quality home.
Madam Chair,
Sir.
thank you for your leadership. A point you made in reference to representatives. Now, you know, City of Tampa, we have 2 houses. So I can't mandate anybody from housing to come as a representative to me, but I think you'll need to have your office, maybe your county attorney, send something to the mayor's office, so that can probably transition and happen. For your bylaws now, elected official, fine, but as any representative from housing, I can't mandate them come to a meeting.
I appreciate your comment, and that's why I'm meeting with Mayor Castor next Monday. So, and that's why I was encouraged to hear that Mayor Lott was interested in serving himself, if not someone within his administration. And I appreciate that Ms. Donahue has been here. The more we're able to actually hear what's going on, what's also wonderful about having this be also televised. You know, that way, for those that can't physically be here, they can actually watch it. And that's part of the reason why more frequency might allow for us to have an hour-long meeting, so that we'll have more viewers and able to keep track of what's going on. Ms. Burton.
I just wanted to appreciate Ms. Cheryl Howell for her efforts in getting out to the community of things that is happening and programs that are being offered. I know she gave up her first Saturday morning to be on WTMP. And, you know, like in our community, there's a lot of gashing and tears and pain because we haven't had this type of discussion. And just to know that the extension of the county to help partner with the city and others so we can start taking, you know, real clear steps to allowing people, making people knowledgeable about services that are being provided, expenditures that is happening, and opportunities. So I really appreciate that, and I want to say that to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a great leadership here, and Ms. Howell is definitely on the forefront. I can't do what I try to do without having an amazing partner here, and we are very fortunate to have you as our director for affordable housing. So as I mentioned, we're going to bring forth to you at our December meeting a calendar for next year. To consider doing monthly meetings, but more importantly, to actually have our new board in place. And we'll also, sometime between now and then, have our public hearing on the biennial plan. That'll be circulated out to you for your review. If you could make sure that if there's any comments, if we could figure out a way to actually get approval from the board. But bottom line, the Board of County Commissions approves that plan. So please, once it's circulated to you, if you don't already have it, make sure that you get any comments back as quickly as possible. Any other new business?
No, I just want to say thank you to Hope, to our developers that are out there, to Harry, my friend, to Habitat for Humanity, and we do have a representative here from THHI. She's in the building. Homeless Services, Economic Development. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you, and especially to the staff that do such
Amazing work.
Amazing work.
Amazing work. I have two
Madam
more
Chair,
comments.
for FYI, about 90 days ago, I made a motion to ask city staff to put on a housing symposium in East Tampa. That is going to occur with a city council town hall. So council is going to be going to the people on October 26th at 9 a.m. We're also will be having Ms. McClary's office bring every type of housing initiative in the city and the county, other vendors there for the symposium, and that'll be held at Young Middle Magnet School at 19th and MLK Street in Tampa, starting at 9 o'clock.
At 9 o'clock on the 26th?
October 26th on a Saturday.
Great, thank you for that information.
I just want to congratulate Hope, because you hung in there long enough that they actually named it the Hope.
Yes.
I mean, that's just amazing. You know, I heard someone say one day that hope should not be a privilege. And when you let that sink in, it's really frightening. And that's why we come to these meetings, and that's why all these partners are here working. Many of them are based entirely of volunteers. And that's an incredible testament to our community. So.
Actually, if someone from Hope can come up and remind us of when the annual meeting details are and where? Anybody want to do that, please?
It's October 26th. Where would that be at?
Young Middle Magnet School.
The annual meeting is in November, isn't it? No? Yes. Yes, October, yeah, it's coming up soon.
Yeah, October 28th at Tampa First Seventh-day Adventist Church. We look forward to the report from the three commissioners who were with us April 1st when you committed to 1,300 people that you would support this affordable housing fund. So
we got it done.
We look forward to your report that day. We also have our next Nehemiah action next year on April 20th.
Okay, great, thank you.
Location to be determined. We're looking for something that can hold 1,400 people, so please let us know if you know such a place.
Okay, great. Thank you all very, very much for being here today, and
May I say something real quick, please?
Okay.
I just want to make a quick comment in reference to everything that all of you read. The people that I was representing will not qualify for anything that you said according to the federal guidelines. And again, when I say they're going to be homeless, this is another set of people that's going to be out that nobody has mentioned. So again, you're still going to have the homeless. I hope the rent stabilization he went to say, but I'll bring you the paperwork where it says rent control. But I just want people to know because they keep forgetting or they don't know. So again, everything you read will not fit any of these people. They might fit it in hand, but according to the gross and the federal government, they will not qualify for anything you have. So you would still have this one set of people that would be homeless and no place to drop to because they won't qualify. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is in your, we'll provide you with a handout, but I did want to give you a brief update since it is new business. It has to do with the plan. It hasn't been circulated as of yet. But we mentioned earlier the various different strategies associated with the biennial plan. And actually, Cheryl, would you go over that quickly? So, as I'll take too long to explain it.
Yes, and so I think there was a request by Board Chair Commissioner Miller to bring back some recommended uses and strategies, not exactly the plan, but the uses and strategies for the funding. And so we're looking at making those recommendations on 10/16, I believe, with the opening up of a public comment period at that time. But please listen up carefully. So for the multifamily, we're looking at utilizing 35%. These are recommendations. Housing preservation, 8%. The private unit rentals subsidy and infill development, that's for smaller multifamily development. We're looking at 20%. Home ownership opportunities, 8%. Special needs housing, 14%. Innovative housing. So there's a lot of opportunity to do some other type of housing. And so whether that be with tiny homes, container homes, whether that be with a type of what they call manufactured, right, type. Yeah, modular type housing. We want to be able to look at different products that we might be able to bring into the community so that we can maximize the use of these funds. And then 5% for administrative costs, because my staff need to get paid as well.
Ms. Howell, going back to the citizen and what she's talking about, that is a very serious concern. Still people not meeting that gap. It's always a gap, and we've got to fill the gap. And maybe we need to look at some type of funding that is not attached to federal government dollars, that you don't have all these mandates that hold these gaps. And maybe a part of that trust needs to be a certain amount of dollars put in to where you can go around those what I call bad policies of the government sometimes that hold people back. So that may be something we need to look at, to where you've got some dollars someplace else so you can fill that gap for those. It's what I call not meeting the need, because we're still not meeting the need. And I think if we can fill that gap with some dollars that are not attached to something, to some federal dollars, that we might be able to do something for that.
Right. So these dollars are not reflective of the federal guidelines, but they go up to 100% median family income. And so that was the directive by the Board of County Commissioners. That is what's included in the ordinance, and that's what we will deliver services by.
Thank you.
Unless something else changes.
And again, this plan is a 2-year plan. So every 2 years, we're going to establish the prioritization of how this rolling over a trust fund that the county is funding on a biannual basis. So these percentages could change once we get a better handle on not only the resources that the county and the cities have contributed, but if we're able to make some inroads on protecting the Sadowski Trust so that we could do so much more. Hillsborough County contributes $22 million in dock stamp revenue to the Sadowski Trust. Last year, we got 1.8 million of it back.
1.4.
1.4. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, the city did get.
The city got 1.4?
No, we got 1.4.
You got 1.4?
The city got 0.4.
And the city got 0.4. Call your legislator, okay? Because we're doing our part, and we're going to need everyone to help our leaders at the state level understand the loss of opportunity for our community when we aren't able to make that happen. How many jobs are created when we are building affordable housing, and how many stable family units are working when they have secure housing. So thank you very much for today, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks. Meeting adjourned.
Meeting.